Last year, you probably bought a burger, a coffee, or some fries from McDonald's, maybe more than once. And every time you did, you were doing exactly what McDonald's wanted you to do, not to make money from the food. Because here's something that almost nobody realizes: McDonald's doesn't primarily make its money from selling you food, it makes its money from the ground your food is sitting on. McDonald's is quietly one of the largest real estate companies on earth, bigger than most property firms you have ever heard of. And the hamburgers? They're just the rent collectors. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how this works and why understanding it will completely change the way you see every business you interact with for the rest of your life. To understand the real estate empire, you have to go back to 1954. And you have to understand one man, Ray Kroc. Kroc wasn't a chef. He wasn't even in the restaurant business. He was a milkshake machine salesman. A 52-year-old traveling salesman who one day got a curious order from a small burger joint in San Bernardino, California. The McDonald brothers, Richard and Morris, had ordered 8 of his machines. 8. Most restaurants needed 1 or 2. Kroc flew out to see why. What he found was a kitchen running like a factory, fast, consistent, and efficient. Every burger identical, every order under 60 seconds. He had never seen anything like it. He convinced the brothers to let him franchise the concept across America. They agreed, and so Ray Kroc set off to build an empire. There was just one problem. He was broke. The royalty he earned from franchisees was a measly 1.4% of their sales. After his own costs, he was barely breaking even. He couldn't fund new locations. He couldn't attract franchisees with enough capital. The whole thing was stalling. Kroc had the dream, he had the brand, he had the system. What he didn't have was a business model that actually made money. Then in 1956, a man named Harry Sonborn walked into his office. Sonborn was a finance executive, sharp, precise, and the kind of person who sees money where nobody else does. He looked at Ray Kroc's books and told him something that would change the course of business history. Ray, you are not in the hamburger business. You are in the real estate business. Kroc didn't believe him at first, but Sonborn had already done the math. Here's what Sonborn proposed, and listen carefully, because this is the move that turned a struggling burger chain into one of the most profitable corporations in human history. Instead of simply franchising the McDonald's brand, the logo, the menu, the recipes, McDonald's would also become the landlord. Here's how the model works in 3 steps. Step 1. McDonald's identifies a prime location, a busy intersection near a highway next to a school or a shopping center. They know exactly what prime means before anyone else does. Step 2. McDonald's buys or leases that land. They build the restaurant on it, the building, the structure, the location, all controlled by corporate. Step 3. A franchisee comes in to run the restaurant. They pay McDonald's 2 things simultaneously: a royalty, a percentage of every dollar of food they sell, and monthly rent for the land and building they're sitting on. So McDonald's gets paid when the food sells well, and they get paid when it doesn't. The rent doesn't care if the economy crashes. The rent doesn't care if beef prices spike. The rent doesn't care if there's a pandemic. The franchisee still owes rent. Sonborn helped Kroc set up a separate entity in 1956 called the Franchise Realty Corporation, specifically designed to buy land and lease it to franchisees at a 40% markup over what McDonald's itself paid. And if the restaurant was performing well, McDonald's could collect whichever was higher, the fixed rent or 5% of the restaurant's total sales. It was a genius double walk. McDonald's wins if you're slow. McDonald's wins if you're busy. McDonald's wins either way. This solved Krog's cash crisis. By 1960, they had over 200 locations. In 1961, Krog bought out the McDonald brothers entirely for $2.7 million, a number that today looks like one of the greatest bargains in history. Now let's talk about the scale of what this model has produced, because the numbers are genuinely staggering. Today, McDonald's operates over 41,000 restaurants across 119 countries. 95% of those are run by franchisees. McDonald's owns roughly 56% of the land and 80% of the buildings those restaurants sit on. That's a real estate portfolio sitting at over $37 billion on its balance sheet. Here's the number that changes everything. Real estate earnings now account for approximately 60% of McDonald's total operating income. In recent years, McDonald's has reported around $10 billion in real estate net operating income, compared to just $1.5 billion from actually running company-operated restaurants. Read that again. $10 billion from the land, $1.5 billion from the food. And here's what makes this model particularly brilliant for corporate, something called the triple net lease. Under this structure, franchisees don't just pay rent, they're also responsible for maintenance, insurance, property taxes, and any renovations McDonald's demands. McDonald's collects the rent check and has almost zero ongoing property costs. The income flows straight to the bottom line. This is why McDonald's keeps close to 82% of all franchise-generated revenue, compared to only 16% of its company-operated restaurant revenue. Think about what that means. The less McDonald's actually cooks food, the more money it makes. But the real estate model isn't just about income. It's about control. When McDonald's owns the land, they own the relationship. A franchisee who doesn't maintain standards, McDonald's can terminate the lease. You don't just lose your brand license, you lose your location. You lose everything you built on land you never owned. This gives McDonald's unmatched leverage over the quality and consistency of 40,000 plus restaurants globally. You have noticed that every McDonald's, whether you're in London, Lagos, or Lahore, feels and operates almost identically. That's not just culture, that's what happens when the landlord sets the rules. And their site selection is borderline legendary. McDonald's employs entire teams of analysts, geographers, and data scientists, whose only job is to find the best possible corner in a city before anyone else knows it's valuable. They look at traffic flow, population growth projections, school locations, highway access, and future development plans. They frequently buy land in areas years before they're developed. By the time the neighborhood fills in around them, by the time the traffic comes, McDonald's already owns the ground floor. The real estate appreciates, and McDonald's wins again. Here's where this stops being just an interesting story about burgers and starts being something you can actually use. McDonald's didn't get rich by being the best at making food. They got rich by asking a different question than everyone else. Most restaurant chains ask, how do we sell more food? McDonald's asked, what asset can we own that makes money whether or not the food sells? This is the hidden economics of almost every major business you see around you. Amazon is not a bookstore, it's a logistics and cloud computing empire. Google is not a search engine, it's an advertising platform. Uber is not a taxi company, it's a marketplace. Every industry has a layer beneath the obvious one, a place where the real money is being made. And the people who find that layer, those are the ones who build the empires. McDonald's found theirs in 1956 on a piece of land in Illinois because one man asked the right question: what business are we actually in? Now that you know this, you'll never look at McDonald's the same way. And honestly, you'll start seeing hidden business models everywhere. In the brands you buy from, the apps you use, even the companies you work for. That's what this channel is about. Every week, we pull back the curtain on how the world's biggest businesses actually make their money, the layer beneath the surface that most people never see. If this kind of breakdown is your thing, subscribe right now. We're just getting started.